Wow, it's been like no time has passed.
No.
Yeah.
So, what's happened since our last episode?
Which last episode? The God's Not Dead or the Doctor Who one we did a couple months ago?
The last official episode.
Oh man, I don't even know. We had a global pandemic.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
All right.
But we're back. Hello and welcome to the resurrection of the Checking the Gate of Film and Religion podcast. My name is Robert Wright Stasko.
I am Michael M. Patty.
And due to recent events and many years of planning, we have decided to come back in YouTube form to talk about the movie Conclave.
Yes, as you may or may not have heard, the Pope, I don't know what number his Pope Francis, I don't know if he has a number or not, passed away recently at the age of 88, leaving us without a Pope for the first time since John Paul II's passing. And
Correct.
as such, we have a opportunity for a real life conclave where the cardinals in Vatican City will choose the next pope. And it just so happens that a recent movie based on a book which was nominated for Best Picture even was all about choosing the next pope, only with way more drama.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully, there's not quite as much drama in the real life conclave. Hopefully, it's nice and boring and quick, and we get a new pope. No, none of that stuff. But we'll get into all that in the movie. So, well, Mike, you mentioned this movie was nominated for Best Picture for Oscar.
Yeah, it
It,
won. It won adapted screenplay because, like I said, it's based on a book. And Isabella Rossellini was nominated and might have won,
no, no,
or she did not win. Okay, for
no.
Best Supporting Actress for Sister Agnes.
Yeah, it only won the screenplay, but it
It
was
only won
nominated.
adapted screenplay. Okay.
Yeah. It did get a BAFTA for Best Film, Outstanding British Film, Best Screenplay, and Best Editing. So it fared better at the British Academy, and it got a Golden Globe for Best Screenplay. So apparently everybody loved the screenplay on this one.
All right. Before we go any farther, Robert, what do you think? Do you think it deserved any of those awards?
Seeing like what did win, I really thought this movie was going to actually win more. I thought the sound was amazing. I don't know if it was nominated for sound, but yeah,
I want to say the soundtrack, the score was.
yeah, the score was pretty cool. Lots of solo violin that kind of accentuated the isolation, and the violin was alone. Like most of these characters were alone for much of the time, separated from the rest of the world and divided among themselves. So that was cool. And like stabs of like there's a technique called colegno, where hit the stick part of the bow against the strings instead of the usually draw the horsehair part that makes the string vibrate. But if you tap it with the wood part, it makes that clack clack you hear a lot in the soundtrack. So that it's like stabs of adrenaline, There's not a ton of action in this movie, but it was,
No,
adrenaline
there's a
spikes.
little. There's a little action, but it's mostly drama.
Yeah.
I will admit I was impressed by the production design. They really went to great pains to make it look like it was actually done at Vatican City, when obviously it wasn't.
Yeah. They did shoot some parts there, but like all the main action that was like in the apartments and the Sistine Chapel, that was all a set. They did not
No,
shoot on the Sistine Chapel.
no, no.
Did you watch any of the bonus features? on this?
No, I watched it on Peacock. I did not have bonus features available to me.
Oh, okay. I got it on sale on Vudu, which has changed since our last episode. Is now Fandango at Home, which I will still call it Vudu.
We'll call
So
it Voodoo.
I bought it on Vudu for on sale, and it had a featurette which described like the how they made the costumes, which were not exact replicas of of the investments they have nowadays. It is kind of an amalgam of like historical vestments, and so to give everyone kind of a unique look,
Okay,
better than real
that's
life.
interesting. That's
Yeah,
interesting. I hadn't realized they weren't. I didn't realize there was a costume design at all. You wouldn't think they'd need to.
yeah. But I mean, they were pretty gorgeous. Also, the Sistine Chapel set it was made for like another movie, and all they had to do was like kind of reassemble this set. And I guess it was on location in Italy. That set was still there in Italy, so they rebuilt the fake Sistine Chapel there, and yeah, I mean, it looked fabulous. I was like, how someone had to painstakingly recreate all those Michelangelo paintings, and
Yeah.
that was something else. So yeah, I thought it looked and sounded great. And something that struck me the second time watching it, I watched it again this morning, was the Foley on it was really forward in the mix.
Oh,
Like every breath, every turn of the doorknobs and creak of the floor and the opening and closing of ship robes and stuff, and the rattle of their crucifixes around their necks was really forward in the like almost like oppressively loud. Like these, every little sound was like uh, violating the silence of the conclave there. So it kind of added to, I think, the tension of what was going on, especially the scene where uh, spoilers. If you haven't seen Conclave, go watch it. Come
like
back.
like we always used to say back in the audio only days, if you haven't watched the movie, why are you watching this?
Why are you here? So yes, go watch the movie. Come back, and then listen to what I say. And I'm going to say this. I totally forgot where I was going. um, oh, the scene where uh, Cardinal Lawrence is in the Pope's chambers and he's trying to find evidence, and Isabella Rossellini's character, Sister Agnes, is outside, and you could hear just like every little creak of the handle like almost turning, and her breath and his breath as he's like clicks off the light and is waiting for her to go away. There's no, there's maybe a hint of a score at the very beginning, and then the sound drifts away, and it's just those, the Foley is the soundtrack at that point, and I think really heightens the suspense of that scene. So I
Uh,
thought it was really cool.
should we get into the plot now and then
Yes,
discuss the points of the plot and as they relate to real world events even?
yeah. Well, why don't you do that for us, Mike?
All right. In the beginning of the movie, the Pope, who's never named, has died. He's dead when the movie starts. Cardinal Lawrence gets the call that the previous Pope has passed away, and the bulk of the movie is the cardinals coming together to choose his successor. And in the process of it, the main front runners, a cardinal from Africa, I forget which country specifically.
Yeah.
Robert, do you remember?
I don't. His name was Cardinal Adiami.
Thank you. Stanley Tucci's cardinal from America, who's a progressive and wants to institute a bunch of reforms. Um, Lithgow's character, who's more of a traditionalist, and finally a new cardinal that nobody was aware of, who had been serving in Kabul, Afghanistan, and He was named a cardinal in secret, and apparently the previous pope had just like written it down, and nobody knew of his existence until he showed up at the conclave. And it turns out one by one, as the voting goes on, and Ralph Fiennes is like leading the conclave and leading the voting, and the Cardinals are casting their ballots, and nobody's coming out as a front runner, but people are getting fewer and fewer votes. That each one of these has their own uh, skeletons in the closet, let's say.
Yeah.
Uh, it turns I don't know if we need to get into what each of those is. What do
Well,
you think, Robert?
yeah. Let's talk, like, because that's
Yeah.
where the movie I think really picks up. 'Cause honestly, I was watching it early in the morning. I kind of fell asleep during that the beginning part with all the setup, but once the feculence starts hitting the fan, I think the movie really gets rolling. I think the first one is with Cardinal Adiyami. It turns out they're having lunch, and he has like a
Yeah,
heated moment with one of the nuns,
yeah,
and it
and it
turns out,
turns out, go ahead.
yeah, she had his son like 30 years ago when he was 30 and she was 19, and so that's sort of like the first like
The
pull of
first
the
shoe to
thread that,
drop.
yeah, that unravels the sweater. Uh let's see, it is John
Yeah,
Lithgow's character.
the Pope was gonna dismiss him or something.
Yes, and that was kind of covered up. But he was the one who sent for that nun to come and join them in Rome before the conclave. And he said it was at the Pope's request. That's when Cardinal Lawrence goes digging in the Pope's quarters to try and he finds the confidential report saying that he was out because he had also been buying support to be the Pope
Oh
from other.
yes.
So, and I had to look this up, and you asked me why I thought this won best screenplay. I think it's because this one line where Cardinal Lawrence is like, "Oh, he has he committed the sin of simony," which is, and then Stanley Tucci cuts him off. It's like, I know what simony is. Thank you. He broke the exposition rule. Like, you have to explain it for the audience because we're stupid. But I had
Fans
to,
say you know what it is.
yeah, I had to go look it up.
Yeah, I
It
do
comes
too.
it comes from Acts chapter 8, where Simon the magician becomes a Christian, and he goes to the apostles, like, give me the Holy Spirit so I could go and do all these great things. And they're like, no, we're not gonna do that for you. Go away. And so that's the simony, is the buying or selling of something spiritual. That leads to Bellini's downfall, because he tells Cardinal Lawrence, Ray Fiennes' character, to just put it back, cover it up, because this is going to be bad news for the church. And Stanley Tucci, his character Bellini, he's very political and ambitious because he wants this other traditionalist Italian actor, Castelletto, plays Tedesco. He's like
Yeah. He's
a
like the
very
hardline traditionalist, not shy about his racism or homophobia.
correct, yeah. And that all comes to the head. Bellini pulls himself out. He's like, I recognize this in my heart that this has got to change about me. So he drops out, and he's like, well, Ray Fiennes, Cardinal Lawrence, you need to take over. And that's when the action starts to happen. Why don't you take over from there?
Yeah, what little action there is, there's like an explosion that they can hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a month or so since I've watched it. We never do find out what the violence is specifically about, other than the fact that they're in the
No,
conclave.
there's a very subtle Chekhov's gun. They mention some kind of unrest at the beginning of the
Yeah.
movie, and then they say a car bomb and a suicide bomb went off in Vatican City, and there's a coordinated attack in two other cities, but they don't say who or why.
No.
But that leads Tedesco to go off on his tirade. It's like, we have to fight these animals, he says. And that's when the dark horse, Benitez, Cardinal Benitez from Kabul.
Benitez. He shows up and says all the right things and quickly becomes a front runner. But of course, there's dirt on him too, because it looks like he had been given money to seek medical treatment from the previous pope. Should we just jump to it?
Yes.
And what this medical procedure turned out to be was treatment to, I'm not even sure how to put it. He identifies as intersex.
Correct.
Meaning he had male and female anatomy, and was going to, I believe, Switzerland to correct this, and then didn't.
Right.
Which, of course, for the Catholic Church is a problem, because what's between your legs is important. So yes. Ralph Fiennes decides, you know what? I'm done. I don't care anymore. You're the Pope. It's not so simple as that. They do eventually elect him, but he keeps that information to himself, as he should, because it's not relevant. And that's the big twist at the end.
Yeah.
It comes out of nowhere. It's not foreshadowed at all. And it really is kind of a head scratcher at the end of the movie. Because you think the setup is going to be this outsider becomes Pope, and like that's the surprise. But the surprise is he has extra genitalia.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even that. It was he had a uterus and ovaries on the inside. They only discovered this when he had an appendectomy. So it wasn't any outside difference. It was just on the inside.
Okay, I guess I missed that distinction.
Yeah, so it's
even less.
Yeah, I think there's some other thematic themes that, like some of the things that he says earlier that kind of go into that. Okay, so Mike, according to our conversations, before filming and like when we first watched the movie, and given what you've said just now, I have the feeling that you weren't impressed by the twist in the ending here.
No, it like I already said, it came out of nowhere, and it existed only, I think, to add drama to the movie, for the sake of having a big surprise at the end. And in real life, that would never have it would never have come out. It would never have been an issue, and it wouldn't have even happened.
Yeah, according to the one NPR news article I read, that a secret cardinal would not have ever been allowed in that conclave. They're all the official things, but
like it's a rule that I forget the Latin term, but the cardinal in secret is not allowed to vote, let alone be elected.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that more a little later, like real life versus movie.
Although technically, I read that anyone baptized into the Catholic Church is eligible to be Pope. It does not have to be a cardinal. Ergo, I am submitting my candidacy for Pope of the Holy Roman Church.
Have you chosen your papal name? You're thinking.
Edit this out. Christopher, edit this out. Pope Luke Skywalker.
We're recording this on the Sunday, April 27th, the day after Pope Francis' actual funeral. So next Sunday is May 4th. So when I go to church, I'm going to say to everyone, "May the 4th be with you," and I'm going to expect a reply.
And
with
also
you.
with you.
Yes. So thank you, Pope Luke Skywalker, for that. Luke Skywalker the first.
Yes.
See, it all comes together. It all works, right? um, but yeah, how do you feel about like all of the like the pomp and circumstance, and the point of the movie? Like, how do you?
Thank you for asking, because I was gonna get back to that. It the whole thing. Let me back up. I saw online an interview where, I guess, on Family Guy. I don't watch Family Guy, so I don't know the context of this, but Seth MacFarlane included a line in a Family Guy episode about a movie that insists upon itself. Uh, I don't remember what movie he was even talking about,
I
but I
think it was
guess
Godfather.
whichever. I guess his film professor used it, and then he put it in Family Guy to like make
Right.
fun of it. But that particular phrase has stuck with me since I read that interview. And while I was watching Conclave, the whole time I was thinking, this whole pomp and circumstance, as you put it, it insists upon itself. It exists only to sustain itself. The cardinals support the pope, and then they pick one of their own to be the new pope. And I was just wondering what's even the point of all of this? What would happen if there was no pope or cardinals? And the movie, of course, doesn't answer that question.
No, they have to do what the rest of us Christians do and kind of wing it.
Yeah.
But even denominations will have heads and, like a president.
Yeah, but okay, but do they have what we see in this movie?
No, no,
No, they
no.
don't.
The Pope is like the direct line of authority from, like, say, Pope Francis all the way to Saint Peter, and therefore Jesus Christ. Jesus said he gave
No.
Peter the keys of the kingdom. Everything that you forgive on earth will be forgiven in heaven, and everything that forgiveness of sin, the keys of the kingdom he gave to Peter. And so those are passed down from pope to pope to pope to pope. So there's that kind of spiritual authority. But in modern day, I think that's kind of been lost. And I think that's what the movie is showing us. It's like it's about politics. It's about ambition. It's
Yes.
about being able to say, I'm the Pope, and I think we
Right.
talked about
Or
this.
I'm a cardinal. I'm this
Yeah.
close to being the pope.
Yeah. And even in evangelical churches, there's this idea of bishops. If you had more than one church, you're a bishop. As much as we try to be like spiritual beings and do what's best and be Christ-like and all these things, we're still human. We still want to control things. We still want to be in charge. We still want that admiration, and we still have our own pride. And one thing
And
I
I
kind of
guess, yeah, I guess that bothers me in that movie, is that
yeah,
it's laid bare. And
right. I think it's more in more in the Protestant churches. We're more able to say, okay, I'm messed up and I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm on a journey. Let's journey together to try and be better. In the more religious kind of, it's more like, you follow my example and I will show you the way, which can be kind of culty. I mean, look
yeah,
at for those of us who are joining. We had a audio podcast for how many years? Was it 11
don't
years?
make me do math.
We started what year? 2011.
Yes, it
And
was
what
right after my daughter was born, so it would have
okay,
been 2011.
2011 to 2019. or
Yeah,
2020. So like almost 10 years.
almost.
Um,
I was just, yeah,
yeah,
ish.
ish. Um, so, and we talked during that time. We talked about some other movies and TV shows that kind of talk about some of the subjects that were touched on here, like Spotlight and Calvary talked about sexual abuse in the church. Um,
Oh,
the young
I forgot about Calvary. Yeah,
yeah the young Pope with Jude Law, which was like, what was that, a 10 episode thing? It was like a 10-hour indie movie.
yeah.
It's kind of
I
ambiguous
Yeah. Full
meaning.
disclosure, I did not watch the whole show.
And they had like a sequel series,
Yes,
and I missed that too. So
I did. I did too.
we talked, let's see, was that our last episode? We it was the
No,
righteous gemstone.
our last episode was the most recent God's Not Dead movie at the time.
Yeah, but did we also talk about the righteous gemstones in that one, or was that the episode before? I can't remember. But anyways, we talked about it.
I no,
We talked
I
about it.
think you're right. I think the last audio episode we did was God's Not Dead 3 and
Yeah,
Righteous Gemstones.
and each of those have had two more installments since we last got together.
That's
But
yeah, you're
a lot
right.
has changed. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Technically, Righteous Gemstones is on its fourth and final season now.
oh, fourth season. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, maybe we can revisit some of these in the future. But anyways, my point being, and revisiting the past, is um this movie does the same thing. It revisits the past, and like all the issues these cardinals have, trying to buy the vote, sexual scandal, politically maneuvering, um and it I think it's trying to bring to light, like, these are the things that are holding the church back. And what Cardinal Benitez and the eventual Pope Innocent, which I kind of missed the significance of that the first time I watched it, but it was like, okay, no, knowing what the secrets that he's keeping at that point, he's all about carrying forward with change, but change in the right way, accepting people, loving people where they're at. Because there's a telling scene at the beginning when they first show up. Ralph Fiennes' character introduces Cardinal Benitez to the rest of the conclave and asks them to pray. And he specifically prays for the nuns who are kind of in the background, doing all the work, taking care of all the cardinals, feeding people. I think that's like the hidden theme of the movie that they're seeding there, is that's the change, the sort of like those people who are kind of looked down on, in the church. This Pope is going to bring forward, kind of like Pope Francis had tried to do. So, and did you catch? I think they're hinting that the dead Pope, and that's what he's credited in in the movie, the dead Pope. Um, they always call him the Holy Father. They never call him by name, but there's a really sly way they intimate that was Pope Francis. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't.
Because I caught this. I can't remember if it was in an article or if I was watching like the Pope's funeral yesterday. Someone had mentioned that he didn't stay in the papal apartments, which are grandiose and lavish, kind of regal, kind of like what we saw at the end of Godfather Part 3. He stayed at the dormitories of the Conclave. And they
Hmm.
don't make a big thing about this, but that's where the Pope was staying in this movie. Because
Okay.
there's that point where Ray Fiennes' character goes to break the seal on the door of the apartment. So it's kind of the one article I read described it as like a 3-star hotel. They don't want the cardinals getting comfortable because they want him to elect a new pope. He wanted to live kind of austere, and so I thought that was a very sly reference to, like, this could happen, like, right now. This could happen today. Did you pick out like any other things that were like in the rituals or anything that you had like because I was scratching my head like, is this how they do this? Is this real? You know,
I want to say that a lot of, just from what I know and what I read when I saw the movie, like the burning of the ballots, that stuff they got right.
yeah,
And like nowadays, to make sure the smoke is the right color, they use like a chemical additive or something.
yeah. It used to be like wet straw and dry straw, which yeah is probably not as reliable. Is that gray smoke? Is that white? Is that so? Yeah, yes. Clarity is better. Yeah, we talked about the costumes. Um, yeah, there was another NPR article. It's called "Is Conclave?" or "Here's what Conclave got right and wrong." And they talked to, I guess, some cardinals who had been there, and they're like, "Yeah, that's pretty close." I think that's where I read they wouldn't let this unknown cardinal just show up and be in there, but kind of the complicated political campaigning exists throughout the church.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm
the
also
source
pretty sure
says,
I'm also pretty sure there wouldn't be a firing of a cardinal with only the Pope and the cardinal. I feel like other people would be present at that,
yeah,
just to prevent such a situation.
yeah,
You know, he dies the next day, and oh, I guess I get to keep my job now.
yeah, there was I think there was like a bishop or something that was there, and there was like another character was like kept like whispering into Ray Fiennes' character's ear. So yeah, it's pretty close to real life, which I thought was pretty good. But the events are fantastical, to say
Yes,
the least. So Mike, uh,
yes.
I'm going to ask you a question I haven't asked you in 5 years. What's your final judgment on Conclave?
Uh, Pretty to watch. I guess if you are one of the faithful, you'll probably enjoy this movie. I don't
Yeah,
need to see it again though.
yeah. I have to say I enjoyed it more on the second watch than the first watch. I think current events have something to do with it,
Yeah,
and also, like I said, knowing what happens, paying closer attention to the little things, because this movie dares to be something that a lot of movies aren't anymore, and that's subtle. Because
yes.
there's a word we used a lot to describe movies. It's one of your favorite words, Michael, and we've
It
not used it at
is.
all in this movie.
I have not used that word in I think 5 years.
Yes,
It is
it is
not
not
sledgehammery.
exactly. So yeah, I think I liked it better than you did.
I guarantee you liked it better than I
Yeah,
did.
yeah, I think we're probably about the same on first viewing, but
Yeah.
watching it again, I picked up more on the sets, the costumes, the camera work, the especially like the music and the sound and the way those two work together. And being a musician, that always appeals to me. So
Yeah. If I may have a final word, do you remember when we recorded our podcast episode for Silence? And I told you that for just a split second, it made me want to quit recording Checking the Gate.
oh no.
Watching Conclave made me want to bring it back.
All right. All right. Well, we won't ever talk about Silence again, because I know that your biggest gripe with that movie was it's called Silence, but God wasn't silent.
Go ahead, step on me. It's terrible.
But it's not as bad as Megalopolis. So,
Ah,
but
good to
yeah,
know.
everyone's got a stinker though. Martin
Yeah,
Scorsese has more than a few. Like, did you
yeah.
try and sit through the Irishman?
I did not.
That is a
I
marathon.
heard better. I yeah.
Whew, wow. I had to Good thing it was on Netflix. I had to take several bathroom breaks for that one. So what, 3.5 hours? Come
Something,
on,
yeah.
Scorsese, tighten it up. Anyways, we got to do the same. So,
Yeah.
what do you want to do for next time? I know I gave you my idea, and then
I'm completely unprepared because I don't know.
well, I think
We
we
have,
ought to
you
do
know what?
separates.
Let's leave it open and let the Lord reveal it to us. I don't know. I'm beacon. All right. Yeah, I we will see you again hopefully sooner rather than later. Definitely less than 5 years. Robert, why don't you take us out in the traditional manner?
All right. Well, until next time, this is Robert saying, keep the faith.
And Mike saying, peace out.